The rain-slicked streets of New York City glistened under the streetlights. But inside me, a storm raged fiercer than anything the sky could muster. I stood outside the towering glass offices of Vanguard Media, my heart pounding as I clutched my resignation letter, the paper crumpling under my trembling fingers. I'd loved Ethan Caldwell, my boss, in secret for 2 years, and now he was engaged to someone else. I'd never meant to fall for him. It started with stolen glances across boardroom tables, his sharp jawline catching the light as he commanded the room with that effortless charisma. Ethan was the kind of man who could silence a crowd with a single look. His presence magnetic, his ambition a force of nature. I, Jamie Harper, was just his assistant, quiet, efficient, always in the background, organizing his life while hiding the chaos he'd sparked in mine. We'd worked late nights together, just the two of us, poring over campaign pitches in his corner office. Those moments felt like ours alone, the city skyline twinkling beyond the windows as we laughed over takeout containers. His tie loosened, my guard down. Once, when I handed him a coffee, our fingers brushed, and his eyes lingered on mine a beat too long. My pulse raced, but I told myself it was nothing. He was my boss. Straight, untouchable, and way out of my league. But then came the rumors. Whispers in the break room about Ethan dating Sophia Langston, the polished heiress of a media dynasty. I ignored them, clinging to the warmth of his smiles, the way he'd lean close to point out a typo, his breath grazing my ear. Until the day he announced his engagement at a company gala, his arm around Sophia, her diamond ring glinting like a blade. I stood in the back, my champagne flute trembling, my world collapsing. That night, I went home and cried until dawn, knowing I couldn't stay. I typed my resignation letter the next morning, each word a wound. Dear Mr. Caldwell, I am grateful for the opportunity to work at Vanguard Media, but I must pursue new paths. I didn't mention the real reason, that loving him in silence was killing me. I slipped the letter onto his desk before he arrived, grabbed my coat, and walked out into the rain, vowing never to look back. But leaving wasn't that simple. Ethan called me that evening, his voice sharp with confusion. Jamie, what the hell is this? You can't just quit without talking to me. I hung up, my heart racing, and turned off my phone. For weeks, I dodged his calls, ignored his emails, and threw myself into a new job at a small nonprofit across town. I thought distance would dull the ache, but every quiet moment brought his face back, his piercing green eyes, the way he'd say my name like it mattered. 3 months later, I was settling into my new life, or at least pretending to. I'd found a tiny apartment in Brooklyn, far from the glitz of Manhattan, and started therapy to untangle the mess of emotions Ethan had left behind. My therapist, Dr. Ruiz, was kind but direct. You're running from your truth, Jamie, she said one session, her pen tapping her notepad. You loved him. Have you ever told anyone? I shook my head, the shame of my unspoken feelings burning my throat. Then, one chilly October evening, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Meet me at the Rusty Anchor. 8 p.m. Please. My breath caught. The Rusty Anchor was our old spot, a dive bar near the office where we'd grab drinks after late nights, laughing over bad jukebox songs. I should have deleted the message, but my heart betrayed me. I went. The bar was dim, smelling of stale beer and nostalgia. Ethan sat in our usual booth, his suit jacket slung over the back, his hair slightly mussed. He looked different, tired, maybe, or haunted. When he saw me, his face lit up, and for a moment, I forgot the pain. Jamie, he said, standing, his voice softer than I'd ever heard it. I've been trying to find you. I slid into the booth, keeping my distance. You're engaged. Ethan, what do you want? My voice was colder than I meant, but I needed armor. He winced, running a hand through his hair, and leaned forward, elbows on the table. I called off the wedding, he said, the words hitting me like a punch. Sophia and I, it's over. It was never right. His eyes searched mine, raw and unguarded. I've been a mess since you left. I didn't realize how much you meant to me until you were gone. My heart stuttered, but I held myself together. You didn't even know I existed outside of scheduling your meetings, I said, my voice shaking. I was just your assistant. No, he said fiercely, reaching for my hand. I pulled back, but his touch lingered like a burn. You were never just anything. You were the one person who saw me. Not the CEO, not the Caldwell name. You made me laugh, made me think. I was too stupid to see it. I wanted to believe him, but doubt clawed at me. Why now? I asked. Why after I left? He exhaled, his shoulders slumping. Because I'm an idiot. Because I thought marrying Sophia was what I was supposed to do, family expectations, business alliances. But every time I tried to picture my future, it was you. Your smile, your voice, the way you'd hum off key when you thought no one was listening. I laughed despite myself. A small, broken sound. You heard that. Every time, he said, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Jamie, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance. I love you. The words hung in the air, heavy and impossible. I stared at him, my mind screaming to run, my heart begging to stay. I'd spent so long hiding my truth, protecting myself from the pain of loving someone I thought I could never have. Now here he was, offering me everything I dreamed of, and I didn't know if I could trust it. I need time, I said finally, standing. His face fell, but he nodded, his eyes never leaving mine. I'll wait, he said, as long as it takes. I left the bar, the cold air hitting my face as I stepped into the night. My heart was a battlefield, torn between hope and fear. Could I trust Ethan? Could I trust myself? I didn't know yet, but for the first time in months, I felt alive. The days after our meeting at the Rusty Anchor were a blur of restless nights and racing thoughts. Ethan's confession echoed in my mind, each word a spark igniting hope and dread in equal measure. I'd spent so long convincing myself he was untouchable, a fantasy I could never claim. And now he was rewriting the story I'd told myself. I tried to focus on my new job at the nonprofit, Helping Hands, where I coordinated community outreach programs. The work was fulfilling, organizing food drives, meeting with local leaders, but it couldn't drown out Ethan's voice. I love you. Those 3 words haunted me, slipping into quiet moments when I least expected them. I'd catch myself staring out the window of my Brooklyn apartment, wondering if I'd made a mistake walking away that night. My best friend, Mia Torres, noticed the change in me. We'd been close since college, her bold energy balancing my quieter nature. Over coffee at a cozy Williamsburg cafe, she leaned across the table, her dark eyes narrowing. Okay, Jamie, spill. You've been moping for weeks, and now you're spacing out like you're in a rom-com. What's going on? I hesitated, swirling my latte. Mia knew about my feelings for Ethan, been the one to drag me out of my apartment after the gala, insisting I deserved better than pining in silence. But this was new territory. He called off his engagement, I said finally, my voice low. He says he loves me. Mia's jaw dropped, her spoon clattering onto the saucer. Ethan Caldwell. Mr. Alpha CEO. Holy crap. Jamie. This is huge. She leaned closer, her excitement infectious. What did you say? Are you guys like a thing now? I told him I need time. I admitted, my chest tightening. I don't know if I can trust him. What if he's just confused? Or worse, what if this is some rebound thing? Mia reached for my hand. Her grip firm. Listen, I get why you're scared. You've been through hell with this guy. But people don't just call off engagements for nothing. Maybe he's finally waking up to what's been in front of him this whole time. Her words stayed with me. But so did my doubts. Ethan had lived a life of privilege, shaped by expectations I could barely understand. His family owned half the media outlets in the city, and marrying Sophia had been a strategic move, a merger of empires. What place did I have in that world? I was just a guy from a small town in Ohio, who'd scraped my way through college and landed in New York with big dreams and a bigger heart. Still, Ethan didn't give up. He texted me every few days, not pushy, but steady. A link to a song we'd laughed about at the bar. A photo of the office coffee machine with the caption, "It's not the same without your magic touch." Each message chipped away at my walls. But I kept my distance, afraid of falling back into the orbit of someone who'd hurt me without even knowing it. Then came the night that changed everything. I was leaving the nonprofit's office late, the autumn air crisp against my skin, when I saw him, Ethan, leaning against a street lamp across the street, his hands in his pockets, his eyes fixed on me. My heart lurched. He looked out of place in Brooklyn, his tailored coat too sharp for the graffiti-streaked walls. But the way he watched me felt like home. "Jamie," he called, crossing the street in quick strides. "I know you said you needed time, but I can't keep pretending I'm okay without you." I froze, clutching my bag. "Ethan, you can't just show up like this. I'm trying to move on." "Move on from what?" he asked, his voice raw. "From us. Because there's always been an us, even if I was too blind to see it." He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne, the same cedarwood scent that used to linger in his office. I've spent my whole life doing what's expected of me. For once, I want to choose what feels right. And that's you. My throat tightened, tears pricking my eyes. "You don't get it, Ethan. I loved you for years, and it broke me. I can't just jump into this and hope it doesn't destroy me again." He reached out, then stopped, his hand hovering between us. "I know I hurt you. I know I don't deserve you. But I'm trying to be better for you. For me. Let me prove it." I looked into his eyes, searching for a lie. But all I saw was vulnerability. A man stripped of his armor. Against my better judgment, I nodded. "Okay. Prove it." The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Ethan didn't just call or text that showed up. He brought coffee to my office, remembering my order perfectly. He invited me to a quiet dinner at a hole-in-the-wall Italian place, where we talked for hours about everything but work, our childhoods, our fears, the dreams we'd buried. He told me about the pressure of his family, the weight of being the Caldwell heir. I told him about growing up gay in a small town, always feeling like I had to hide. One night, as we walked through Central Park, the leaves crunching under our feet, he stopped and took my hand. "I've never felt like this before," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Like I can breathe." He leaned in, and when our lips met, it was soft, tentative, and perfect. My world tilted, and for the first time, I let myself believe this could be real. But reality has a way of crashing in. The kiss in Central Park lingered like a promise. But promises are fragile things. Ethan and I were stepping into uncharted territory. And while my heart soared, my mind whispered warnings. We were two men from different worlds, trying to build something real in a city that thrived on facades. We kept our budding relationship quiet, meeting in secret at my apartment or small cafes far from Manhattan's prying eyes. Ethan was cautious, not out of shame, but because of his family. The Caldwells were old money, their name synonymous with power and tradition. Coming out as bisexual, especially after calling off a high-profile engagement, would send shockwaves through their world. "I need to do this right," he told me one night, his fingers tracing patterns on my hand. "Not just for us, but for me. I've hidden who I am for too long." I understood, but it didn't make it easier. Every time we parted ways, I felt a pang of fear that he'd slip back into his old life, that I'd lose him to the expectations he'd fought so hard to escape. Still, he kept showing up, each gesture proving his words weren't empty. He'd leave voicemails when I was at work, his voice warm and teasing, telling me about a new book he'd read or a terrible pun he'd heard. He'd slip handwritten notes into my bag. Little things like, "You make my days better." I kept them in a shoebox under my bed, my own private treasure. But the world doesn't let secrets stay buried. A month into our fragile romance, the news broke. A gossip column in the Post ran a story, "Caldwell heir dumps heiress for mystery man." A blurry photo of us leaving a cafe together was splashed across the page. My face half hidden, but unmistakable to anyone who knew me. My phone exploded with text coworkers, friends, even my mom back in Ohio, worried and confused. Ethan called me that morning, his voice tight. "I'm so sorry, Jamie. I didn't think they'd find us this fast." He was at his apartment, a sleek penthouse I'd only visited once, and I could hear the strain in his words. "My family's furious. They're demanding I make a statement. Deny it." My stomach dropped. "And what are you going to do?" "I'm not denying you," he said fiercely. "I told my father the truth. I'm in love with you, and I'm done pretending." His words should have been a victory, but they felt like a storm brewing. That night, I went to his place, my nerves frayed. He opened the door, his face pale but determined, and pulled me into a hug. "We'll get through this," he whispered. "Together." But together was harder than we'd expected. The media frenzy grew, paparazzi trailing us, speculation swirling online. My co-workers at Helping Hands were supportive, but I could feel their curious stares. Mia, ever my rock, invited me over for wine and a pep talk. "You're living a real-life fairy tale, Jamie," she said, grinning. "But fairy tales have dragons. You've got to fight for this." The dragons came in the form of Ethan's family. His father, Richard Caldwell, summoned him to their estate in the Hamptons. Ethan asked me to come, saying he needed me by his side. Against my better judgment, I agreed. The drive was quiet, the weight of what we were walking into pressing down on us. The Caldwell mansion was intimidating, all white columns and manicured lawns. Richard greeted us coldly, his eyes raking over me like I was an intruder. Over dinner, he didn't mince words. "This relationship," he said, his voice dripping with disdain, "is a mistake. You're throwing away your future." "Ethan, for what?" "A fling." Ethan's hand found mine under the table, his grip tight. "It's not a fling," he said, his voice steady. "Jamie's my future." Richard's face darkened. "You're a Caldwell. You have responsibilities. This will ruin you, both of you." The words cut deep, but Ethan didn't waver. "I'm done living for you," he said, standing. "I choose him." He pulled me up, and we left, the door slamming behind us. In the car, he was shaking, not with fear, but with resolve. "I meant it," he said, turning to me. "You're my choice." But the fallout wasn't over. The next day, Vanguard Media's board announced an emergency meeting. Rumors swirled that Richard was pushing to oust Ethan as CEO, using the scandal to question his leadership. Ethan tried to shield me from it, but I saw the toll it took: the late-night calls, the tension in his jaw. I felt guilty, like my love was a wrecking ball to his life. One night, as we lay in my bed, the city humming outside, I voiced my fear. What if this cost you everything? I whispered. Your family. Your company. He turned to me, his eyes fierce. You're worth it, Jamie. I'd rather lose it all than lose you. His words were a lifeline, but the storm was far from over. The board meeting loomed like a guillotine. Ethan spent days preparing, his confidence a mask I could see through. I wanted to be his strength, but I was terrified. What if loving me cost him everything he'd built? What if I wasn't enough? The night before the meeting, we sat on my apartment's fire escape, the city sprawling below us. Ethan held my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my skin. Whatever happens tomorrow, he said, I need you to know I don't regret this. Not you. Not us. I leaned against him, my heart full and heavy. I just want you to be happy, I said, even if it's not with me. He turned, cupping my face. You are my happiness, Jamie. I was half alive before you. His kiss was fierce, a vow against the uncertainty ahead. I clung to him, praying we'd weather this. The board meeting was closed to the public, but Ethan texted me updates. They're grilling me. Dad's pushing hard. Then, hours later, it's done. I'm still Silver now. He came to my apartment that night, exhausted but triumphant. The board had voted to keep him, but his father's influence lingered, a shadow over his victory. Life settled into a new rhythm. We were out now. No more hiding. Ethan introduced me as his partner at a company event, his hand steady in mine as we faced curious stares. Some colleagues embraced us. Others whispered behind our backs. Sophia, to her credit, sent a gracious note wishing us well, though I knew it must have stung. But happiness is never tidy. Ethan's relationship with his family fractured. His mother called occasionally, her voice tentative, but his father cut him off entirely. I saw the pain in Ethan's eyes, the weight of losing a parent's approval. I tried to be enough, but guilt gnawed at me. Had I upended his life for nothing? One evening, as winter blanketed the city, Ethan surprised me with a weekend trip to a cabin in the Catskills. It was just us, a crackling fire, and a sky full of stars. We talked about the future, moving in together, maybe adopting a dog. He laughed about my terrible cooking, and I teased him about his obsession with spreadsheets. It felt like a glimpse of forever. On our last night, he pulled me outside, the snow crunching under our boots. I have something for you, he said, his breath visible in the cold. He handed me a small box, and my heart stopped. Inside was a simple silver ring, etched with a tiny star. It's not a proposal, not yet, he said, smiling. It's a promise. I'm in this, Jamie, all the way. Tears blurred my vision as I slipped the ring on. I'm in, too, I whispered. We kissed under the stars, the world quiet except for our beating hearts. Back in the city, life wasn't perfect. The media still hounded us, and Ethan's father sent a letter disowning him. A final blow. But we faced it together. I went back to therapy, learning to trust this love, to believe I deserved it. Ethan joined me for a session once, his vulnerability disarming as he spoke about his fear of failing me. Months later, at a quiet dinner with Mia and her girlfriend, Lena, Ethan raised a glass. To choosing love, he said, his eyes on me. I clinked my glass against his, feeling the weight of our journey, the pain, the fear, the joy. We'd fought for this, and it was worth it. Our story wasn't a fairy tale. It was messy, real, and ours. I'd loved Ethan in secret, left when it hurt too much, and found him again when he chose me back. We didn't know what the future held, but we knew we'd face it together. Two men carving out a life in a world that wasn't always kind. And that was enough.